Hello everyone, what's up and welcome back to another video. I'm trying a new angle because if I edit another video with the light just going on off, it's going to drive me up the wall. So today I'm going to be doing a challenge that I saw on bookstagram and I thought, hey, this might be a good idea for YouTube as well. And it is to use the letters of your name and mention some tropes as well as some books that fit into that trope. Before we get started, please remember to like the video, subscribe, and comment down below. I don't know, what's your favorite trope? And let's just jump right into the video. So starting with the N, obviously, we're going to go with new kid in town. The new kid in town trope is when the main character just moved or moves at the beginning of the book to a new place. For the first book, I'm going to go with Northanger Abbey from Jane Austen. And this is basically about a young girl called Catherine Morland and how she moves from her secluded house to Bath in 1790. And Bath is basically just like this up and coming area where all the social elites gather, and how she makes friends and discovers a whole new world very different from her. As I've said, she's very sheltered. This is highly recommended if you like classic books. It reads really fast. It's got this gothic feel to it as well. And I really enjoyed this when I read this 4 or 5 years ago. The next book I'm going to go with is The Lost City, or the Ante Origins Trilogy by Amanda Hocking. And this is basically about Ulla or Eula, still not sure, Tulin. And she has been abandoned as a baby. And when she is way older, she goes to this university to try and discover who she is. And she gets the help of this very techie guy who does research on genealogy, and they start a good friendship, and Eula is essentially led down a path that turns out to be very darker than what she expected. This is an awesome book for those of you who like Amanda Hocking's writing. It follows her trial trilogy, but just like later down the line. And some of her former characters also make like cameos in the book as well. And it's pretty awesome to read. I didn't enjoy this series much as I did enjoy the trial trilogy, but it is definitely a good series, or trilogy, whatever you want to call it. And the last book I would recommend for this trope is Hush Hush by Becca Fitzgerald, or the whole Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzgerald. And we basically follow Nora as she moves in with her mother after her father has passed away. And she's struggling with this new area and this new setting because it's just not for her. It's just not how she likes it. And then she meets Patch, who is kind of this dark, morally grey character, and she wants to know more about him, but he keeps pushing her away. Now that I think about it, I don't know if she's new in town. No, I think she's new in town. Otherwise, I wouldn't have picked it. You know? If you've read the series, please let me know because I now completely forgot. But even with that, we can also go with the Fallen series, or we can also go with the Twilight series. So, you know, take a pick. And for A, I'm going to be choosing Age Gap, and I believe everyone knows what this is about. It's basically an age gap between the two main characters, and it can be a huge age gap or it can be something like 4 years. But I think it's more prevalent when, say, for example, the female main character is 20 and the male main character is like 40, 48, somewhere around there. The first book I'm gonna go with is a series, and it is the Virgin River series, but not all of them. There are 2 books that stand out for me, and the first one is Virgin River, where we get Mel, who goes to Virgin River to leave her past behind her, and she meets Jack, who's I think like 20 years older than her. And while she pushes him away in the beginning, she eventually falls in love with him, and he has been besotted with her from the beginning. And, you know, just their journey of how she discovers self-love as well as love in a small town. The other one in the series is Temptation Ridge, and this follows Shelby, who is like 20 years old, and she has just come to Virgin River to visit her uncle after treating her mother, who has had like that neuron sickness for I think 4 or 5 years, and her mom unfortunately passed away. And while she's in Virgin River, she meets Luke, who's this grumpy kind of guy. I think he's also 40. He doesn't want anything to do with her because he had a bad experience with romance, you know, in the past. So he is rather afraid of attachment, but she decides that they're going to do this once-off thing before she goes to nursing school, and it ends up that she falls in love. Funny enough how that works out. The next book in this trope is The Familiar by Lee Bardugo, and this is about Lucia, who has hidden powers and how she tries to navigate these powers while in Spain. I think it's around the 16th or 1700s. I can't remember, even though I just read it last month, so you know, that's great. The romance isn't prevalent in this, but there is an age gap romance between her and Santana Hell, who is like a 500-year-old vampire or something. So yeah, big age gap there. And then of course we have, I won't say it's a big age gap, but it is an age gap nonetheless, and it is Vampire Academy's Rose and Dimitri. I think Rose is 17 and Dimitri is 24 in the first book. I can't remember, but this is basically about a guardian for vampires, how she goes on protecting her best friend Lissa, who is also a good vampire, as opposed to a bad vampire. I'm very deep into the series, so trying to explain the series without complicating it is quite hard. For tea, I'm gonna go with tropes that happen in the woods, and I'm assuming this is just also plain and simple, any book that contains woody areas. I would say my explanation is pretty spot on. The first book I'm gonna go with, or the series, is the Defiance series by CJ Redwine. In this book we follow Rachel in this dystopian kind of setting where her father disappears and now she's being looked after her father's apprentice, who she once had a huge crush on but then kind of made things awkward between them. And beyond the place where they live is like this wilderness where a cursed one lives, so she tries to venture out there to go and find her father, and Logan somehow ends up going with her. It's really a fun dystopian series and I would love to dive back into this. Nobody's going to be surprised about this, I'm assuming. The next book is Bitten by Kelly Armstrong, and this is about a only female werewolf in the whole wide world and how she navigates through life while trying to separate herself from her, can I say, normie life as well as her werewolf life, and how these two eventually blend together because she can't keep one from the other. Yes, it is also the same as the Bitten series. I think the Bitten series on Netflix just takes a different spin to it, which I didn't like. But if you've seen the series, you would know half and half what this is about. Then the last book is Bride by Ellie Hazelwood, and this is basically an arranged marriage between a werewolf and a vampire, and the vampire goes to live with a werewolf and starts learning how the werewolves basically function and how they work around one another, and that they are not these monsters that the vampires actually think they are. I don't know if I've said that. She goes to live with the werewolves in the woods. It's witty. The next trope for my name is Alternative Universe. Alternative Universe is a story in which the characters we know are seen in a reality that's somehow different, often disturbingly so. The first book is Ready Player One by, what's his name? Ernst Klein. In this book we follow Wade, and he lives in like an alternative universe where everything is a utopia, basically. The world that he currently lives in, like the real world, is very messed up. It is after climate change just wreaked havoc on the world and everything just went to crap. So everyone decides to buy like these alternative universe machines where you can create your own avatar and end up in another world that is far more beautiful than the one you are living currently in. It is a form of to escape reality, and what ends up happening is the creator of this alternative universe sets up like an Easter egg hunt where if you can find the key to his world, he will grant you access to this whole wide world. And Wade just basically goes on a serious techno adventure to find this key. The next book is The City of Bones, or the Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare. I'm sorry for the glare. Hey, that rhymed. We follow a normal girl who's called Clary, and she can see demons. Even though she doesn't know they are demons, she just sees these creepy things that keep on attacking people. And then one day while she's at a club with her best friend, she sees this person killing another person. And she soon discovers that there's a world hidden from her that has been unlocked after she turned 18. And she discovers a world of demons, of demon hunters, and you know, that kind of thing. The last book is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is more of a fantastical book, and this is essentially a circus that pops up at a random town at night and is only there for a few days before it just completely disappears again. And all the occupants in this circus have hidden talents and set up kind of magical things in the circus that are very unexplained. It's really enjoyable to read this. Definitely recommend. Then the S, I'm gonna go with Second Chance Romance. This is essentially a trope where if you have fallen in love and you've fallen out of love, there is a chance that you will fall in love again. Or it is when one person and another person fall in love, they break up and eventually come back to one another again. One of the books that falls in this trope is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this is about a woman who marries her high school sweetheart, and just before their first wedding anniversary, her husband goes down in a helicopter crash and nobody can find him, and he's presumed dead. The female character eventually moves on, and I think 5 years after her husband is declared dead, she receives a phone call and he's like, "Hey honey, it's me. I'm alive and I'm coming home." It's essentially just a story about her deciding between whether she wants to stay with the person she is with now or if she's going to go back to her husband, because I mean, vows. The second book is Second Chance Pass, also a Virgin River book, and it is the 5th book in the series. And this is about Vanessa, who just lost her husband in war in Iraq, and how she is trying to go day by day by being a single mother right now and just dealing with her grief. And then we also get her husband's best friend, who has had a crush on her for like ever, and how they eventually find one another and fall in love with one another. And then the last one in this trope is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Why did I doubt myself there? And this is basically about two characters. One of the characters is a nurse, and she and I believe his name is Will. I can't remember her. Harriet and Will, yes. They broke up because of circumstances surrounding Harriet's work, and he felt like she was cheating on him, so he broke it off. They didn't tell any of their friends that they broke up, and then Harriet and Will are invited to Maine, where their friends hold a vacation annually, but this is going to be their last vacation because the owner of the house is selling the house. So they want to make it a last hurrah, and Harriet and Will decide they are going to fake date until the vacation ends, and then they're going to tell everyone that, hey, we actually broke up. I don't think I want to delve in further into that. It is a very emotional read, but it's also a very good read. Emily Henry, really, she does well. The next trope is Hate to Love. I think it's more commonly known as Enemies to Lovers, but because it's an H, I'm gonna go with Hate to Love. The first book I'm going to go with is Guild by Raven Kennedy, and this is part of the Plates of Prisoner series. I believe this is her first book, and this is a King Midas retelling. We follow a girl named Oren who is golden all over her body, and she is the king's prized possession. And this is essentially just a story about how Oren falls out of love with one of the characters and falls in love with someone who you think would be bad, but eventually is not bad. He's like that I will end the world for you kind of guy. That was very melodramatic, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to delve deep into it because it does contain a few spoilers, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you've read the series, then sure, you know who I'm talking about. The next one is From Look Off with Love by Mariana Zapata, and this follows two ice skating characters. The female main character hates Ivan Lukov because his face is just everywhere and he's won a lot of stuff, and her previous ice skating partner has left her in the dust, so now she doesn't have anyone to skate with. And eventually, Ivan's agent suggests that these two work together for a year until Ivan's partner comes back, and I believe her name is Jess. She just doesn't want to because it's Ivan. She hates him. He's always stolen her spotlight, so she's just like, no. But they eventually end up doing it because it's good for her as well, and you know, it goes from hate to love. Then the last part in this trope, I'm gonna go with the most obvious one and the one that everyone I think knows, and it's Akatar by Sarah J. Maas. This follows Farrah Archeron, and she hates fairies. She really just hates them, or fae. Until one day, she is forced to go to the Fae realms because of things that she did, and she starts falling in love with a fae. What more can I say? And the last category trope I don't know how to say this. Okay, for the last A in my name, I'm gonna go with the apocalyptic trope. And this is essentially just a world that, you know, goes to ruin, I guess. Dystopian, basically. I feel like that's how you can describe it. First series, or the first book I'm gonna go with is Heart of Dread by Melissa De La Cruz and Michael Johnston. If you've been with on my channel for a while, you would know I spoke a lot about this book in the beginning, but this is basically about a group of people who are trying to escape the frozen wasteland that they have been in due to humans just annihilating the planet. The ocean is known as the trash ocean right now because there's just so much trash in the ocean, and 3/4 of the world is frozen over. It's a magical series, obviously, kind of dystopian, also kind of fantastical, where there are dragons involved and there's magic involved, there's dwarves and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you want to check it out, I really enjoyed the series. It also gave me, the ending gave me the vibes of Wolf's Rain. I'm not sure if anyone has seen that anime, but yeah, that is the vibes I got. The next book I'm gonna go with is The Maze Runner, because it is also apocalyptic. It centers around a world where the sun has just burnt everything, and you get cranks, who is kind of like sun zombies. They also eat people. And then you get people who are resistant towards this kind of flu thing, crank virus. Can't explain it because it's a hell of a long explanation through the series. It's basically just dystopian, apocalyptic, how these people are trying to escape a maze and then eventually escape the people who put them. Why did I say them like that? Who put them in that maze. And then the last one I'm gonna go with is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I'm not going to explain what this book is about because everyone and their mother knows what The Hunger Games is for. Anyway, that is all the books that fall under my name. Trope name. That makes sense? Okay. I am going to edit this video now and I'm going to see